So today we're going to be installing this nitrous outlet nitrous kit on the 6-liter LS swapped Camaro. So step one, I want to mount the bottle. We're going to mount that in the trunk. In order to mount it, we got to drill some holes, and instead of drilling right through the fuel tank, we got to drop the fuel tank. So step one is going to be drain the fuel, drop the fuel tank, and get the bottle mounted. So let's get the fuel line off and drain the fuel out. Okay, I got this fuel line off here, so I'm just going to cap the rail with this -4 plug and then drain the fuel from this hose into a jerry can. Alright, I got the fuel rail feed line hose aiming in the jerry can. I had to take the fuel pressure regulator and filter off just so I could get the articulation on the hose so I could reach it in the jerry can. So let's flick the fuel pump switch on and get her flowing. Okay, I've got the fuel pump on, so we should be getting fuel coming out of here. Looks good. Alright, I just got finished draining the tank, so we're going to mount this regulator and filter back in place and hook the fuel line back up just so that's tucked away, and then we'll start dropping the tank. Okay, we got the tank removed successfully, so now we basically got to just put the bottle in here and see where we can lay it. So since we got the tank out, the fuel tank out now, I'm not worried about drilling through this and into the tank. So now we got a clear bottom. We can through drill a hole and get some nuts on it and get this tank secured. Okay, I'm under the car right now, and I just want to show that I want to get the bottle's basically right above this. I don't want to drill my holes into this arch here, the tank mount. I want to keep the holes over here so that I don't have bolts sticking through here. So I'm going to make sure that the bottle's mounted as far this way as I can. Alright, I think this is going to be our location for the bottle right here, so I'm going to get a paint marker and mark out the holes and drill them out. So here's what I'm using to mark these holes out. It's a white paint marker, and you just take the cap off and you can pull the tip out and just come right in here and mark the holes. Okay, I got these four holes marked out, so let's put a pilot drill through it, and then we'll enlarge the holes. Alright, we got these holes drilled, so let's just set the tips up. Okay, I got our bracket all installed. I had to shorten up these two rear bolts here because it's got a shallow mount to tilt the tank. So I just had to shorten those bolts up so it would clear the ring there. And the front ones went in nicely, and now we just got to put the bottle in and drill a hole for the feed line to come out of it. Okay, we got the bottle mounted all nicely now. We just got to drill the hole up there for the feed line. It's going to have to drill through the floorboard here and run up along the side of the car and up to the engine bay. Okay, I've got this feed tube run. Just use the step drill. That's to fit this guy through it. This is the feed line. This goes to the bottle. So then it goes through the floorboard here, and this will run up to the front of the car. So you can see this. Sorry for the bad lighting, but that fits right through there. So now we can hook the bottle up and run this line to it. Okay, I've got the bottle loosely mocked back up here in place, and I got this hose run. It's not going anywhere. It's just going down to the bottom side of the car. But that looks good. So that's it for tonight. We'll pick up where we left off here tomorrow. Alright, so it's the next day, and with our nitrous bottle installed, it's time to reinstall the fuel tank. So I'm going to hook these wires up for the fuel sender, and then we're going to bench press this thing back in and put the straps on it. Okay, I'm under the car here. We got the fuel tank all reinstalled, straps on, and the fuel lines all hooked up in here. You can hardly see it. But next we got to run that braided steel hose all the way up to the front of the car. That's the nitrous feed line. Okay, I've got the feed hose here, and I've just got it all strung out along the floor. and I've got the outlet taped off so we don't get any dirt and stuff in there. So basically, I'm just going to run the hose along above the axle here and along the side of the car. You can see those fuel lines right up there, and we'll just zip tie them all the way along the frame rail, all the way up into the engine bay. We'll go right along the fuel line. We'll just zip tie them right to the fuel line. So that should be good, and it shouldn't be too hard. Should be a good spot, should be out of the way. You can see it comes out of the trunk, right up in there. Comes out of the trunk, and then we'll just run along the fuel line. Alright, so this is looking under the car, and that steel braided line is the nitrous feed line. So it just runs all the way up the front, and the fuel line all the way up to the front, nicely zip tied to the stock fuel line, and then it crosses over the rail into the engine bay. Let's go see the engine bay. Alright, and this is in the engine bay. You can see it comes up the fuel line, and I've just got it coiled up and zip tied off right now until we get the solenoids and nozzle installed. So that's it for installing the bottle and the feed line. Next step, I think we'll be installing this nozzle right here into the intake. Okay, the next step here is going to be installing the nitrous and fuel nozzle. So this is the nozzle. You can see that's the spray bar. That's where the mixture comes out. This is where you jet to tune the amount that you want. You can see one's fuel and one is nitrous. So this is going to mount in the intake tube here. This is the inlet air temp sensor, and I want to mount this right about here. So I think we'll rotate this 90 degrees downwards, and then we can drill a hole and get this mounted in here. This is going to take the position of the inlet air temp sensor, but it's just going to be rotated downwards. So let's get that marked out and drill a hole and stick this in. Alright, I was able to rotate the inlet air temp sensor 90 degrees downwards, and it looks like we'll be able to mount the nozzle right on that white mark that I made, just like that. I'd like to have this perpendicular to the ground, but it's going to run, the lines are going to run into the rad hose, so we're going to have to off-center it a bit, just bring it upwards, but that should be alright. So we'll get this taken off and drill a hole in it, and we can get this mounted in. So to take the air intake off, I'm just going to disconnect the inlet air temp sensor, and then loosen off this gear clamp here. Oopsies. And this whole program comes right off. Alright, so I just used our step drill and got this hole drilled out and got the nozzle installed. It looks really good. So now we can put the air filter back on and the coupling and get this back on the engine. Alright, I got the intake installed, and I got the these lines just mocked up on the nozzle. So that looks good. It's at a decent angle, and the inlet air temp sensor is down there. So that's good. Alright, I'm in the car now, and I'm just getting this switch mounted. So this switch is going to be the signal switch for the relay. So the relay is going to trigger, and then the two solenoids, the fuel and nitrous solenoid, will open and allow it into the engine. So this needs to be accessible by the finger. This is also known as the wide open throttle switch. So instead of mounting this to the throttle or to the foot pedal down here, to the gas pedal, I'm going to mount it right on the steering wheel, so then I can just hit it with my thumb. So I've got it marked out, so let's drill that out and get this mounted in. Alright, I got the hole hogged out here, and I got the switch now. Just use a step drill to drill that out. So this, just be able to push that right into place. Alright, there's the switch. It's mounted. It looks alright. I can easily access it. So now we'll just run the wires off here, down the steering column, and under the dash here. Both these switches installed now. So basically, for the nitrous, you will flip this up, arm the system, and then come over here and push this button to engage the relay, which will turn on the solenoids, open the solenoids. Alrighty, that's going to be it for part 1 of the video here. We're going to finish up the rest of the install, and that'll be part 2.